Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Afnan, Abir, Lina, Maram, Noura. Shall we start? Can you all hear me? Yes, Noura. Yes, Noura. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It was off. Yes, now it's working. Shall we start? I'm sorry for being late. Like I was about to forget, to be honest, because I was very busy with another book, really. But did you get hold of our textbook? Did you get hold? I mean, did you buy the text? Did you buy the textbook? Hello? Okay, thank you, Maram. What about the rest of the girls? Are you there? Are you listening? Are you following? Okay, now, in this session will involve chapter 2. Chapter 2, and it is language and social class. Okay. Are you all ready? Abir, Lina, Maram, Afnan, all the girls who are, shall we continue? Okay, thank you very much. Now here we have social class. To define a social class, it's the relative position that would divide people in the same society in terms of education and financial status and reputation and all that. This is the social status. This is the social class. So social class, according to the English society, and we have it the same in our society as well. We have, upper. It's divided into 3 basic divisions, which are upper class, the upper class, the middle class. Those are basic ones, and the lower class. Lower, when we say lower class, it's a bit embarrassing or misleading. We do not mean lower in the sense of lower, but it's usually the lower working class. The upper class has got 2 divisions mainly: the upper and middle. Upper class and upper middle class. This is inside the upper. Each one has got the same. And the middle has got the upper middle, the middle, and the lower middle. The lower class, which is the lower working class, it has 2 divisions, which is the upper lower working class and the middle lower working class. So we don't have the lower, not to that extent really. So if you have like two speakers, the way we have them in the book, I want you to refer to the book. Are you there? All of you? I don't feel that people are with me this class like before. Hello? Yes, shall I continue? I don't know. Do you have the book? Nora, Maram, Lina, Abir, Afnan. Yeah? Okay, very good, Maram. If you open page, so today we'll try to cover those pages which are between 23 to the end of the chapter until 41, inshallah. So on this page, number 23, look at the speakers here. We have an evidence that is noted for in the book, and it is to estimate a relative social status between in this conversation. We have speaker A, they call it speaker A, and speaker B. Speaker A says, I done it yesterday. I done it yesterday. Speaker B would say, I did it yesterday. Which one you think might be related to a higher social class? Can you answer this question? Can you raise your hand? Can you answer? I don't know. Do you have a control on that or you don't? A is from a lower class. Very good, Ya Maram. Why? If you try to answer this question. I know that he said done. I done it. The other one said did it. Why do you think why you said it correctly, but I want to see why did you say that? Can you give me a reason? Because speaker B, English, right? Okay, good. That's an excellent guess, Ya Maram. Because the second speaker B, is more closer to the standard English. Proper English. You don't say proper, it's proper like that. Okay, thank you, Yamaram. We don't, no. Never use the word proper. بعدين بيزعلوا الناس. All our speech is proper. Proper in terms of having our speech systematic, not contradictory. So when you use the word proper, it means that the rest is contradictory, is wrong. And when you say it's closer to standard English, this is a milder excuse, a better excuse, a better reason. So when you say speaker B is closer to the standard form of English, it means that his dialect is standard. The word standard is better. The word standard, I write it like that. Standard is better to use. لأنه مش إحنا اللي عملناها. Right? So when we say standard, we will be on the safe side. So all of thank you. All of what speaker A says is different than the standard in terms of grammar. So you have to say in terms of what to be more precise. But speaker B is more close to the standard English, which is called standard. It has been identified by linguistically and by everybody as being standard. So this is why we say standard. The word standard covers everything we want to say and makes us avoid troubles and hurting people and being unprofessional. So to be professional, we say speaker A has got differences structurally in the grammar from standard English. So instead of finding it in the standard as did it yesterday, because it's yesterday, you say speaker A says I done it yesterday. Speaker B says it similar to the standard English. I did it yesterday. Again, speaker A says I ain't got it. So the ain't and got, this is a dialectal kind of variety, which is correct. It's systematic. It's fine for him, but it's a way. It's different than standard English. But speaker B has the expression more related to or similar to standard English. He hasn't got it, right? Ain't and hasn't. Speaker E or A, it was her what said it. And speaker B uses that. It was her that said it. So what and that are different. So if you want to specify the differences between them structurally, you can say that the usage of the grammatical structure in sentence number 1 has a different auxiliary form. The second one is the usage of verb to be instead of expecting verb, the auxiliary, the modal has, which appears in the standard. And finally, the third one has got the usage of the relative pronoun what instead of the neutral that. I mean, you have to specify as well the structure. And that shows that one definition of higher class in the society is when the person uses his or her dialect more closer to the standard. So the more closer to the standard, the higher the social class is. Okay, so here we have social class dialect, and this is in writing, and social class in speech. We call it as well social class accent, which we can't see in writing. Maybe the accent as well is different. Like when you say further and farther, you write it further, of course, but the way it is said, like farther and further, those people who say further would have a marked point to show that the speech is from a higher class. Suppose they say both further. One person would say further in England, and another person say further. So the person who says further with the R absent is from a higher class. This is important. You can say that the accent is marked as well for the higher class depending on the standard, because the standard is marked as well with this. We have it in our society, of course, social class accent and social class dialect. Dialect is related to the morphology and the grammar, and accent is related to the vowels and consonants, as well as the position of the stress on which syllable. Okay, so here in the speech community, we have learned to classify speakers accordingly. See? So it's there in our mind subconsciously, and now we will let it out. We will try to talk about it. So why does social differentiation have this effect on language? Why do you think? Why is this effect? Any idea on language? Why? Give me some kind of logical reason depending on your knowledge. Right? Can you say anything? Any idea? Participate, yeah, young ladies, what's wrong with you? Into today you don't like it? يعني إحنا we are just replacing our class. We won't disturb you because of different culture. يعني okay, but suppose they are of the same culture. يعني كلهم من الحجازي culture. هم كلهم from the British culture. يعني the same culture. But yes, يعني there is some difference. What kind of difference you think? Never mind, but you used a good, yes, education, well done. Yes, all what you know is the best thing, yeah, Maram. And Yanura as well, you have done a great job. Yani we have the word culture and education, which is excellent. خلينا ندور على we will develop our knowledge according to culture and education. Okay, how can we understand this? Is related to barrier and distance. How is this related? Yani with education, the barrier and the distance becomes less, and you start getting rid of these barriers in terms of feeling feeling that you are cultured and you can mix with people and you accept مثلا in education to learn another for example dialect and standard or variety, the word variety, another variety of language that you don't use. Some people with narrower mentality because of culture and education, less education and less developed culture or less cultured person, less educated, would refuse. They would say they don't know. They know their own dialect and that's it. Now, these days, early 21st century and very late of the past century, in England, people started to say, yani, so what? Education and culture. We have our own culture, which is our identity, and we're proud of it. And we have our own dialect, مثلا from Scotland. Yani, from Scotland, they have their Scottish dialect. And their Scottish dialect is different than the standard English. Yeah, Noura, habits as well. All of them are under culture. Habits and mentality and how broad the mentality is. It's all under culture and education. Yes, that's right. And the social class as well. But as far as dialect is concerned, some people are from Scotland, as we said, some others are from the Midland and the northern of England, northern dialect and, you know, Midland and East dialect and so on. All, you know, and the southern dialect of Kent, you know, in Canterbury, where Brighton is, and all of that, people and Norfolk, Newfoundland and Norfolk, these are speeches of different types that are different than the London speech, or in other words, in England itself, the British English, they use their standard as the language as was developed in London. So they start calling it the received pronunciation, and or the Queen's English or the BBC English. All that we talked about it last time. So people I was talking about people in the end of last century, the 20th, and beginning of this century, and nowadays, they are more proud of their own dialect. it's in terms of especially the accent and not the structure. Because the structure, it comes like when you say I ain't done nothing, instead of I haven't done anything, the double negation, and using ain't instead of didn't, and using like our previous example, I done it yesterday instead of I did it yesterday. In terms of structure, this is reflected on people's education and culture. But in terms of accent, like the Scottish accent, you know, this is the Scottish. So they are very proud of the Scottish accent and all the types of the Irish accent there, the Irish, you know. So this is in terms of accent. So the educated people have this reflected on changing their dialect as far as structure is concerned, but not accent, you see? Like when I speak English, I keep my accent in it. I speak it in terms of probably, the structure of English. We make sure that the structure at least is not different than the standard English, because this is what we study in schools. But I myself keep my own, flavor, if you want. This flavor is found in the accent. So you find that I speak it with my own accent. This is Dr. Noah Shurafa's accent, and so on. So this becomes as part of our own identity, and it's part of our attitude. For example, I decide this. You can find this on page 24, and it's developing this the speech in terms of social barriers and social distance. So that's the barrier and distance that we were talking about. I told you about this barrier and distance. Okay, barrier and distance would actually show this diffusion of linguistic features through a society, and it may be halted or stopped by the barrier of social class. So we have the social, I'll write it like that, class, age, what else? Class, age, race as well. You know what is race? For example, in England, I know England, you know here more than me. Race, religion, okay? Religion, what else? Or other factors. We'll talk about these factors. So these are the factors, when I ask you what are the factors that affect social class. So social class is affected by the age, the race, the religion, I add level of education, ethnic, which is race, exactly, Afnan, ethnic group. But in the Hijazi culture, what kind of ethnic group do you have in terms of race? طبعا we are not racists and we don't really like to talk about it. It's not nice because our religion advised us strongly to avoid this. But it's part of language, dialect. It's part of dialect, differences in dialect, and you can realize this. طيب, if we focus on Hijazi, okay, Maram, we call it like that, by the way, in Arabic, in English. If we focus on the Hijazi society, what kind of ethnic race we have in Hijazi, the ethnic race. It's part of English in England. Let me tell you, مثلا, in England, the ethnic, like this, ethnic race, ethnic group, we say. The ethnic group, for example, in the UK, we have people who are from Africa, يعني originally. I'm sure عندكم هنا originally from, there are people which are in the UK originally from Africa. They mean, أقولكم they mean, they Somali, people from Somalia and from probably Ghana and Nigeria. And there are people originally from Jamaica. Yeah? And there are people that originally are from different parts of different East Europe countries. East Europe countries, زي Romania. Well, yeah, people are originally in Hijaz. There are people who are Saudis. They are Saudis, but they are originally from Egypt, originally from Russia, originally from Africa, other African countries, probably Sudan, etc. So here is Europe, and there are people who are Arabs, you know, in the UK, in England. So their dialect differs because they live in their own societies. They don't mix that much. They mix, but not very much. Yani, they get married from each other. Yeah, exactly, Afnan, from Yemen. Beautiful. You see, you can see things. But I mean, your attention needs to be devoted rightly. So that all is called social stratification. So this is social stratification differences. So all of these age, sex, race, religion, yani religion in the United Kingdom, you have Jewish people, Jewish English people. Their English, their dialect is different than Christian English people. And there are also Pakistanis and Indians and people from the Far East who are English, you know? And those people have their dialect different. Okay? Here in Saudi Arabia, yani religion is not that much of a difference. We all are Muslims. يمكن في some Shia Muslims in the eastern region. I don't know about the western region or the middle region, but I know some people from the eastern region, from Dammam or Qatif, you know. Okay, so here when we concentrate on these kinds of factors like class, age, sex, race, religion, everything, then we are in particular, in Bahrain as well, there are in Bahrain 2 different dialects, and I have read about this because my teacher used to be Professor Clive Halls. Professor Clive Halls have studied the Bahraini and the Baharna dialects, and that's how we learned about it. Who are English, who are from Britain, and his thesis at that time, maybe before we all were born, he's an old man. At that time, he focused on the structure and the difference in dialects between the Sunni Bahrainis and the Shiite Baharna. And he found lots of differences at the level of structure, at the level of morphology, syntax, and as well as accent. Yani, the Shiite would have longer vowels than the Sunni. Minihni, يقولوا بنهنية instead of minihni. You know, minihni is the Sunni. Minihni is more Shiite, and so on. And the pronunciation of ta and ta, you know, tibra, or tibi and tibi. Tibi, to, you know, if you want something, this is the Sunnah, but tibi is more fricative, there is frication. So there are plenty of things that you can mark them. People can mark each other from the accent as well. You know, here I remember something in Hijazi Arabic. في بعض الناس بيقولوا you know that word دحين, you know the word دحين. في other people into you probably would know more than me. They would say دالحين. Yeah, am I right? And there are other people who I hear them say دالحين. صح? Like that. دحين, دالحين, and دالحين. And you might know why. Yani people would say, maybe they come from different ethnic class, ethnic group. Yani we're not being racist, but that is a reality. So this kind of social stratification is the social differentiation. So social, like that, let me write it, social differentiation is, what do we say it in sociolinguistics? Is social stratification. Okay, so that is the social stratification. Social stratification on page 25 now. Social stratification is a term used to refer to any hierarchical ordering of groups within a society, especially in terms of power, wealth, and status. Power in terms of power, we'll talk about this, wealth, money, yeah, and status. About status involves all education and these kind of things. Power, sorry, there is an O that I missed. Power is that when you are educated and you come from a higher social class, your power is stronger, of course. So that's why power is a very good term to include all of these. So in the industrialized societies of the West, this takes the form of stratification into social classes that gives rise linguistically to social class. Gives rise, okay, it becomes of a higher linguistic social class. So the whole question of social class is in fact somewhat controversial, especially since sociolinguists are not agreed as to the exact nature, definition, or existence of social classes. Because you don't say lower. I mean, it's humiliating. It doesn't really mean that when they are lower, they don't understand or they are there is something wrong with them. Okay? So here the general attitude adopted towards social class in most linguistic studies will emerge from the following paragraphs. Social class stratification. Be careful, try to understand it. So it is not universal. However, in India, for example, traditional society is stratified into different castes. As far as the linguistic is concerned, caste dialects, because India has got lots of them, in some ways it's easier to study and describe than social class dialects. So this is because castes are relatively stable. So it really sometimes depends on the nature of the society, and that is one of the nature of the Indian society. You might not find it in the West or maybe in our place, So here we have relatively that caste kind of dialect is more stable, clearly named groups, rigidly separated from each other, with hereditary membership and with little possibility of movement from one caste to another. This is a considerable simplification. He has simplified the situation. The situation in India is more complicated than this. But the main point is to emphasize the differences between caste and class societies. Because of this rigid separation into distinct groups, caste dialect differences have tended to be relatively clear-cut. The social differences in language are sometimes greater than regional differences. So it's not like here in Hijaz. It's not the region that you come from. It's more like related to the power and where about you descended from, Yemen, Egypt, as you said, or other countries, because here there is a mixture in the society that is not probably found in all societies in the world. You have table on page 3, the table to identify and summarize table number 2 on page 26, where it actually summarizes what happened. Table number 2. I wanted to say 2, and the computer made the rugby ball. Oh dear, what's that rugby ball? Table number 2. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, I'm not very good in knowing those symbols and how they are created, by the way, on the keyboard. Okay, so the first 3 examples on that table show that although the Bangalore, that is a kind of, and Darwar forms are the same for the lower castes. Those are dialects. And there is another one which is Brahmin, because you don't have to worry about memorizing these. These are just examples for you to be able to classify situations given to you as forms which are not only different from other castes, but also different from each other in the 2 towns, Bangalore and Dharwar. I don't know, Dharwar, yeah. So here in Dharwar, for the structure they say Ede. In Bangalore they say Ide or Idi. In Dharwar, non-Brahmin, there is Brahmin and non-Brahmin. In Canada, regional and caste differences in Canada. So they say for it is, they say IT, and there is IT the same. Sometimes they are the same, but I mean there are differences that mark them, and so on and so forth. So here higher caste forms are more localized than the lower caste forms. And we shall see the reverse is true of class varieties of English. The reverse of this. And in the south it's more classy than in the north. Okay? So the second 3 examples show that there is more similarity within social than geographical groups. Social distance is more differentiating than geographic distance. So we have lots of factors here involved to differentiate. Social, geographic, and level of the wealth, level of education, age, and all of that. In the class societies of English-speaking, let's now see the English-speaking world. It becomes clearer that the Indian is complicated. The social situation is much more fluid, easier to understand. The linguistic situation is therefore rather more complex. At least certain in certain aspects. So social classes are not clearly defined or labeled entities, but simply aggregated of people with similar social and economic characteristics. And social mobility, i.e. movement up and down social hierarchy. So we have a social ladder hierarchy, like, as I told you before. It's you can find it later in the book, like a triangle. The triangle of higher class on top is less in number, and the wider base of the society consists the lowest class, and it's most localized, and it is away from the standard. I just want to make sure that you're okay. Are you all with me? Young ladies, Afnan, Abir, Lina, Maram. Are you all there? Are you all there? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, shall I continue? Is it clear? Yeah, it needs to be read by you, but I mean, I just show you the basic points so that when you read, it becomes easy for you to understand and to follow up. Okay, now here, let's continue with the English society. So here we have similarities and differences of social and economic character. And social mobility movement. If you are from the north and you move to live in London, for example, of course your dialect will be affected, but still this hierarchy in social class will still make people very sensitive, and they can realize that you were from the north, but you're not really using that purely northern dialect of England because you moved in the south, but you can still be identified from your dialect. That's how complicated it is. That's what he means by that. Like when people here in Hijaz use Hijazi, and some people from Riyadh, I know some people from Riyadh live in Hijaz. They start speaking a mixture of Hijazi and Najdi dialect. You, as purely Hijazi people, can still realize that. It's not as pure and as strong as Najdi, but you can still realize that. This makes things much more difficult for a linguist, to describe and to talk, because it becomes heterogeneous. That's why. Heterogeneous society. Hetero means not monogeneous. This is the nature of languages anyway. Heterogeneous. Heterogeneous society is a society where more than one kind of dialect, when dialects, move and they mix together, it becomes difficult for the linguist to describe. Okay, so many linguists concentrated their studies on idiolect. It's better. What is an idiolect? An idiolect here is the speech of one person at one time in one style. The speech of one individual, I call it. It's the speech of one individual in terms of style, in terms of structure and accent and everything. In the past, it used to be avoided, saying that no, this is largely erroneous, wrong. But then dialectologists concentrated on the speech of these people, and dialectologists also, to know the difference, concentrated on the speech of rural informants. Why would dialectologists concentrate on studying rural informants, informants dialect. Why do you think? Can you give me some reasons? Yani if you want to learn about the Hijazi dialect, the original one, where would you go to learn about it? Do you go to your friend via the same age as you? Or do you go to your relative or your mom? Laura, no, what do you mean? By school? Rural areas have less schools, maybe. Yani, they go to rural area because the mixed dialects and the changes in dialects is less. Do you agree? Because they tend to have least change or changes on their dialect. Do you understand now? Shall we continue? Here, these are the rural informants in particular, because they have least changes because their education is little, and they are kind of isolated from different immigrants and so on, especially those the book is concentrating on different parts of the world. For example, in Canada, the Canadian linguist Chambers, his name is Jack Chambers, has referred to as norms, the norms of the dialect. Norms, original kinds of non-mobile of the rural male. Their reasons for performing males to females, preferring males to females will become clear in chapter 3, because males have their own restrictions and way of keeping their own dialect more than women. Women usually are the ones who tend to change theirs to appear more prestigious. Women are worrying all the time about this. So on page 27, no, not 40, 27, there is the discussion of, guys, I want to tell you something. Now the Salah has started, the Adhan has finished. But because our class finishes at 4:30, I'll give it to you until 4:40 because we missed a few minutes in the beginning. Can we postpone our Salah until we have the half hour? Okay, very well done. And we will do our Salah and then start our next class at 5 o'clock, inshallah. Is that clear for everybody, please? Afnan, Abir, Lina, Marab. I know there aren't too many people today, but at least those who attend, because you all have to, I'll stop the recording and you have to go out and then come again. So another class is counted for you. Otherwise the recording will stop. So we want to record the second class as well. This is very important. Afnan, Abir, Lina, Maram, please, when we say finish, you get out of the room and then sign again after you do Salah. Okay, now on page 27, there are reasons why dialectologists are concerned on rural area. Can you see rural area? For reason number 1, they were concerned about recording many dialect features which are dying out. This is one thing, because it's lost. And when it is lost, it would be lost forever, because the new generation will stop using it, right? And the second reason is that there was a feeling that hidden somewhere in the speech of older, uneducated people. You can see that with your grandparents' speech, and sometimes your parents' speech, that there are expressions and words and way of pronouncing words that uneducated people were the real or the pure dialects, I mean using the pure dialects, and which were steadily being corrupted. So the word real, pure, and real and pure dialects or dialectal forms are used in rural areas because they are less educated, less exposed to the change and so on. So it's homo, that's the other word, genius, more homogeneous. See the word homogeneous and the difference between heterogeneous and homogeneous? Okay, dialectologists then began to incorporate social as well as geographical information. Okay? And examples given in the book were with reference with the R. Because the English R, when you pronounce it in England, it's more of rural kind of feature. When you don't pronounce it in the words, it means that you are of a different, a higher social class. And it becomes as urban in urban areas, in rural versus urban areas. Okay? So the R is an example in the UK. I don't know here in Hijaz. I realized the pronunciation of ja. Do you agree? The jim. People tend to use it to use the this one now. If you agree, okay, tell me if you agree or you don't agree. Ja, right? Against, I say versus the old way of pronouncing it, which is ja. Yani jat wala jat. See what I mean? Am I right? I don't know. I'm trying to find equivalent kinds of pronunciations and related points to the Hijaz area. And then here in Europe, of course, that was all affected by historical kinds of events. So in Europe, the First and the Second World War has caused lots of changes in the dialect, and it changed people's positions and people's education and all that. In our area in Hijaz, there are historical reasons. Now I can see the historical event that is taking place is that people, young generation, started to get those scholarships to get education abroad. Is that right? This is an event that I can mention. So you have to really remind yourselves with everything around you in the area and try to make use of it linguistically and apply it. So the social stratification is very important. If we focus our attention on English, in New York City, for example, we have in New York City the pronunciation of the R, it's totally the opposite. Is opposite than that in the UK, in England يعني. In what way? يعني in New York City, if you are from a higher class, the R is very marked. You pronounce it. People from higher social class, they tend to pronounce words like here, for example, here. They would say here, and the more the R is marked, the higher the class, the social class is. In England, if the R is absent when it is post-vocalic or finally at the end of the word, then it means that the person is from a higher class. So they would say here. In England, they would say here. But you have to make sure that the vowel as well, what kind of vowel it is. Yes, like teacher and father. Teacher and father. You see the difference? It's really very good to realize. So William Labov, I'll write his name. William Labov is that American linguist who had actually studied the New Yorkan R, and he called it New Yorkan R. So the method developed by Labov have proved to be very significant to the study of social class dialects and accents. So the method of traditional dialectology may be adequate for the description of caste dialects as in India, since any individual, however, selected stands a fair chance of being not too different from the caste group as a whole. But it is not possible to select individual speakers and generalize from them the rest of speakers in their social class. So this was an important point that was demonstrated by Labov. So the speech of single speech speakers, which is called, we say, idiolect, it's very important, may differ considerably from those of others like them, right? So it really depends on the background of the speakers. So and their certain social class, age, gender, i.e. sex, men or women, and they would use one or other variant approximately percent, whatever X% of time, like how many times your R was found, and so on. So here, other examples from other cities show the dialect continuum. So this series is referred the series of all types of linguistic changes that is found in dialects is called dialect continuum. A large number of different but not usually distinct of non-standard dialects connected by the chain of similarities. So here, dialectal or dialect continuum. Let me see, continue. One is the chain, okay, is concerned with the chain of similarities. That's the dialect, and see for that pages 29, 30, and 31. Okay, right. So on page 31, you can also see the diagram, the figures. Also, figures, right? See figures 1 and 2, which are figures 1 and 2 on pages 30 and 32. where these are described, I mean, the kind of social and regional dialect variation, social and regional dialect variations, okay, in different societies. We have our society as well, so the change of similarity of dialect at either end of the chain being very similar, and this is equally true of a journey from Bangalore in India and Maine to Tallahassee, you know, Tallahassee in the United States, Florida, Tallahassee in Florida, or from the end of Germany to France or to Italy, and so on and so forth. You would say that this English-speaking Canadian is different than the other English-speaking Canadian. One comes from Italy originally, and he's Canadian, but he comes originally from Italy. The other one comes originally from, he's a Jew, he's Jewish, مثلا. Comes from, I don't know, another ethnic group or religious group. Okay, let's have a look on page 31 on grammatical differences in standard English, for example. The sentence, he is a man who likes his beer. You can find these variations. He is a man who likes his beer. He is a man that likes his beer. He is a man that likes his beer. He is a man that likes his beer. He is a man what likes his beer, and he's a man, he likes his beer, and finally you find he is a man likes his beer. These are not only accents but also structural analysis differences in written, slightly different, and you can sort of point that this is at any given point in England which pronunciation and which structure refers to what kind of dialect. Okay, more on this, like on the following pages, 33 and 34 and so on, takes us to realize these classes. The classes in generally in any society, in societies, okay, are as follows. We have, I'll write the abbreviations, which is upper class. So you have to realize the UUC is upper class, and we said no upper class. We have upper, like that, upper middle class, and we have lower, upper lower, upper class and upper class and upper middle, upper class and upper middle class. Then we have upper middle class, and we have lower middle class, right? And finally we have the middle working class and lower working class, and before that we have upper working class. So we have all these classes in the society. Please try to work them out and see how they are studied on two cities, which are Norwich and Detroit, by showing the stratification and what we call the instances of using the dialect continuum, i.e. how many times that kind of pronunciations the R and the O are found in societies. Through everything. Example C, all description, to talk about these classes descriptions on pages 34, 35. Where else do we have them? 36, 37, 36. Okay, 37, all the way to 40. All of them are talking about, these kinds of classes. All right? Like, for example, on page 35, look at the examples. A sentence like, I can eat anything. Example, I can eat anything. Can you see the different ways to be pronounced? I can eat anything, and then I can't eat anything, and I can eat nothing, and I can't eat nothing. You see, can't eat nothing is two negation, and this is the lowest probably. Can't eat anything, can't eat nothing. You study these and you collect your data and you try to see all the classes on page 36, like the upper middle class, the lower middle class, and upper working class and lower working class. Like, I can't eat nothing is said to be used 70 times by lower working class, whereas upper middle class wasn't there, or maybe once or twice was marked. Same thing on tables. Look at all the tables. Look at all the tables, starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Table 5 is found on page 38. How the table 5 معلش أنا they are easy to follow and there are examples, so that's why it's really easy for you to follow. I'm just directing you. So here table 5 looks at the pronunciation of the R in words like bird. That is the word bird. Let me just write it properly because that is the word bird. So here this word can be used to mark how do the different classes pronounce it. This is at the level of accent. So because before that it's more discussion was at the level of structure. So at the level of accent, bird, against the word breed, bird and breed. When you say breed, you pronounce the R, and in a word like breed, to breed, or breed, breed like that. Beard, like that. Yeah, beard, which is a beard. So beard and in New York it's like beard. It's more like beard and the RP. And the RP of England is more like beard. And there is in north of England beard, and there is bad, which is like bad, in New York and bad. And those vowels are often socially more significant than consonants. Consonants are less in number as well, but the vowels are the music. They show the music of people, of language generally, and people would pick it according to their social class without them focusing on this, and it becomes really difficult to change. The vowels are more difficult and more sensitive. So we have lots of those words like butt, up, fun, and name, gate, face, etc. So name can be pronounced as name or neam or niam. So all of them have their own ways and different ways of pronouncing them. And at this point, it is important to ask, what exactly is the value of this kind of information? What is the value of this kind of information? Okay, the value of this information. In other words, what's the value of this chapter? Are you all there? We are going. Yani Abir is away, but Abir is here now. Yes. Okay. Are you all here, please? Because I will just now try to finish with the chapter, and we have like 5-10 minutes more. Thank you, Maram. Thank you, everybody. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so what is the importance between all this kind of information and how people in the United States pronounce these words with the vowels? يعني in Massachusetts and in Boston and in Chicago and all these parts of America, as well as in England, in Norwich and so on. One reason why this question is important is that a number of writers on sociolinguistics have derided this kind of work as correlational sociolinguistics, as if the whole point of the exercise was simply the correlation, just the correlation. Yes, the society class, exactly, Anura, because, you know, this kind of study would really have lots of answers for questions like, why do people have certain attitudes against others? Sometimes it's humiliating because of the power and all that. It explains all of these. The answer is that first, it shows what sort of information we are working with when we assign a social status to speakers of the basis of based on linguistic evidence, and the different factors, exactly, Nora, the different factors which are again the class, the ethnic group, religion, level of education, the economic, the financial position. So through our linguistic experiences, we have become sensitive. Normally, subconsciously, إحنا become, as linguists now, we have ability to focus our attention on these factors more than other people from different fields who do not know about these factors. So we become normally, subconsciously sensitive to correlate of this part between social class and standard. You see, in the very beginning of the class, we were talking about the standard. And I told you, please don't call it proper, because all what we speak is properly, and the people will feel hurt. They will feel really bad by saying, what do you mean? If I am from a different class in the society, it means that I don't know how to speak? So here we have, instead of saying local linguistic forms, we don't say locally, and it means that they are not civilized like animals. No, it's not a nice word. Second point is that it tells us, learning all these things tell us about something about the social structure of the society, of a particular continuum. And in the case of both Norwich and Detroit, for instance, this is one of the examples that has been given in the book, in this chapter, for instance, by far the biggest gap between any two schools is that between those classes, which is one is lower middle class and one is upper working class. So I want to ask you, and that's it. We finished the chapter. Let me ask you a question before we leave. And please, all of you must leave the room so that we re-enter. We enter again. Okay. Tell me what kind of social class we are from. We relate to upper class, middle upper class, or lower upper class, or the middle class. Which kind of middle class we are in, and is it an upper middle class or middle class? Okay, that's a good point, Yanura. All of us, into وأنا وإحنا, we are from the middle class. Why? Give me a reason. We meet in the same level, university, صح? This is one point related to probably education. Another point related to economics, we economically are very similar. Yani we don't have people in the class and myself who are billionaires, let us say billionaires or millionaires. We are okay, we're fine. Yeah. طيب, level of education, level of economics, level of ethnic, يعني احنا same wealth. برافو عليك يا نورا. Same ethnic group as well. يعني similar, not exactly the same, but similar. Similar level of education. يعني you are in university, I'm your professor. We are in the same kind of circle. طيب, tell me, is it upper middle class or middle class? Choose one. I want each one of you to choose one. Or lower middle class. According to what you think. What do you think? Which one are we all from? The first one, the middle one, or the second one? Middle class? Who else would like to say something else? Yani, you know, Abir, Afnan, okay, middle, Abir, middle, all of you middle class. Yani, look, in the middle class, إحنا probably we are less than the middle class, maybe between middle class and lower middle class. You know, basically, maybe because our wealth status is not millionaires. If we are millionaires, then we are middle class. Are we millionaires, Ibanat? We might be. So until we are millionaires, I think we are between middle and lower middle class. But at least we are from the middle class. So middle class are those who are not billionaires, but millionaires probably. Millionaires. And millionaires can't go above, by the way, على higher middle class. لو طاروا, no way. Okay, I mean, this is not my classification. This is the classification generally worldwide by linguists and by sociologists. So here sociology and linguistics meet. Okay, guys, now I want you all to leave the classroom and we will go and pray, and I'll write it down. We are going to meet, inshallah, to meet again for our second replacement class at 5 o'clock. Please. Okay? But now you all have to leave. Yeah? Okay, yalla bye. Salam. Thank you. Lina Shbeir. Leave, Lina. Leave. Please. Hello, Lina. Lina?